We're live. Welcome to the List Podcast, episode 0. I'm your host, Chris. This is my co-host, Josh. And wait, where's Kid Concrete? I thought he was supposed to be here.
He had excuses. He has excuses for everything. I'm not even convinced he showed up to his own graduation in high school. Who cares? We don't need him.
Yeah, I don't think we need him at this time. It's still kind of standoffish for him to not show up, but, we don't need him. We're going to talk some wrestling, and maybe he'll join us at some point down the road.
He doesn't know wrestling anyways. He has one mask, and now he thinks he's wrestling bejesus.
So, yeah, we'll get things started with just Josh and myself. So I'll give some background here. We're just two longtime friends who love wrestling, and we're isolated and bored right now. We've seen a lot of matches together, but there's a ton of matches we haven't seen, especially like important classic matches in some cases. So we started this podcast partly in order to show each other matches that maybe some of us have seen that others haven't. We started it to educate each other. So we're going to do a lot of watching some old matches, but we're also going to discuss some current events, and we're going to be making some lists. I've been known for being obsessed with lists since high school, and Josh used to make fun of me for it. So that'll be a regular part of the podcast, huh?
Yes, it will. He made a list over everything. There could be you could walk into the bathroom after having a bad night of drinking, and the first thing Chris would say is, top 3 times you threw up in my toilet. It's bad timing all the time, but the reality is every time he brought up a list, we were in, I was 100% ready to go, and we did it. And now we thought, what better way to, enjoy ourselves as much as we can during this quarantine? We're all stuck inside anyways. We're all watching wrestling anyways. We all love wrestling anyways. We talk about it anyways. We live chat the whole time. We Skype watch it. We figured, why not record this? Record some of our discussions and see if it's something people want to watch. Hopefully it works out. If not, we're still going to watch it. We're still going to make all the same jokes, all the same discussions. We're still going to do all this exactly the same. The difference is, maybe it can entertain somebody else who's stuck at home.
If one person finds this and finds some enjoyment in it, then it's successful on our part, because we would have been doing this shit anyways. We have a long list of matches to go through.
Yeah, I mean, Chris and I, we grew up in the 90s, so 90s, early 2000s. So, a lot of Attitude Era. A lot of Attitude Era is what got us hooked. Myself, I actually played a little bit in independent local wrestling in Canada in Halifax.
You did.
I do some of that. Now, I wasn't very good. I didn't go very far, but I did get to see some of the inner workings of, how wrestlers talk to each other, how they communicate, how they act outside the ring. I wouldn't call myself a wrestler, but I definitely have a passion for it, and I really enjoy it. And I know, coming into the newer generation, the PG era, what's going on now, AEW firing up. We've always been ready to discuss it and super excited. Chris and I have gone to a couple of live events ourselves, both bigger and smaller. And honestly, I can't wait to bring my kids. Some of the best times in my life has been going to wrestling with Chris and just letting loose, dressing up, acting like fools, and knowing everybody in that room at that time is there for the same reason. And you may not know each other, but you're family. And hopefully we can do that here.
Yeah, that's well said. I always found generally people you meet and day to day, generally you don't meet a lot of wrestling fans, but then you go to a house show in a small city and there's 2,000 people and they're all thinking the same things you are. So house shows were always a fun time. I agree with everything you said.
Awesome. So how are we going to do this, Chris? Are we just going to talk?
I figured we'll try to break things down, have a few different segments, and try to make ourselves seem like a legitimate podcast. We can start things off by just discussing current events, stuff that's happened the last few weeks in AEW, WWE, New Japan, and the other independents, if there's any notable news in Ring of Honor, TNA, anything like that. The other thing I'd like to make a regular segment is the list. I just want to be able to spring on top 3 wrestlers, top 5 finishers on you guys at any time. You guys know I love my list, so I want to make that a regular part of the show, especially if we're naming it the list. We have to make that some sort of segment.
We're going to make a list. Top 3 shows called the list of all time. Go.
This one, Second is the show that's going to sue us for copyright infringement if we steal their name. And third is Chris Jericho's failed podcast before he started Talk is Jericho.
Wait, Chris Jericho had a list podcast?
No, I'm just joking.
Oh, fuck, he got me. I was like, no way. There's no way we're knowingly ripping that off.
No, Jericho's been on the podcast game for quite a while. He's been going for quite some time.
I've heard of him.
That's a good one. Definitely killed some plane rides listening to that.
Yeah, he's hilarious. He's awesome. And then I just watched the Hot Ones episode with him again because it was fucking great. I love him on.
It's a good watch. Yeah. We all love Jericho.
So I guess getting into it, I don't know any news, so I hope to God you do, because I try really hard not to read or listen or educate myself in any way. So
fair enough.
To find out what's going on in the world of wrestling.
Yeah, so I mean, it's less notable than usual in the fact that New Japan has not been having any live shows for the last couple months. Obviously, the COVID-19 shit's been going on and hit them a little bit before it hit us, so they haven't had any shows whatsoever. And it's not like, their main shows are all that they have. They don't really have like a weekly show like Raw or Dynamite. So no stories progress while these shows aren't going on, whereas Raw and Dynamite are kind of like continually going. So I feel like it's a bit of a different vibe right now with wrestling. You get no stuff in Japan, and then you get these empty arena shows on Raw and Dynamite. And I still like them, and I've gotten used to them a bit now. But
especially Dynamite. They've been crushing the empty arenas. It's awesome.
Yeah, I like what they've been doing with the crowds. They're yelling just enough that it sounds like there's a bit of a crowd there.
Yeah. And I mean, most of the yelling is done by either the heels playing the heel crowd or the faces playing the face crowd. So they're booing the people that the company wants you to boo. They're cheering the people the company wants you to cheer. And the best part is they're actually pretty good at it. It seems natural when I'm watching. It's funny. It's hilarious, and they know what level to take it to, where they still don't touch they won't reach out and touch the wrestlers because they're supposed to be the crowd. But it's fun. It's a lot of fun, and I really enjoy it. And AEW for me is right now they're making the most of a bad situation, and WWE is doing their best. But I think AEW is actually they're the standard right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think they've clearly been working at a reduced roster too, because I think the last 4 shows or so were probably all taped in the same 1 or 2 nights, because it's Cody, Sean Spears, Lance Archer, a few local talent that's been jobbing, Best Friends, and a few others, but they've been able to build the show mostly around that group of guys for a month or so. So I like how they had this big match planned with the Elite versus the Inner Circle, and it was going to be a big blood and guts war game style pay-per-view, but it was going to be on Dynamite. It wasn't going to be a pay-per-view. It was just going to be that kind of style event, and they just pushed that back because this wouldn't be right for an empty arena, they said. So they're biding their time, and they're making compelling television and good matches with what they have. But at the same time, they're delaying the major storylines, which I think is probably the right decision. But they're filling the time with pretty creative vignettes too. The Matt Hardy Jericho shit was really funny.
Oh, I mean, what about what Jericho's doing with the Bubbly Bunch? That's gold. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, two of the squares are just his dogs.
Hilarious, man. I the first one I saw, I think was they were doing some stupid shit. They were doing a dance or something, and when it started, it was oh good, it's that fucking music, and everyone pretends to dance. Now it's gonna be viral, and it's just a bunch of people shaking, the Harlem Shake. That's what it was.
Yeah.
That's stupid shit again, and I was I'm out. I don't want to do this. But then when I started watching, I was they got some celebrities, some outside of wrestling celebrities are involved. It was actually really funny, and I found myself judging myself heavily for enjoying it. I was standing behind myself going stop being a pussy. You're not supposed to watch this. Turn it off. Watch somebody kill somebody. That's it.
Yeah, I agree. It's been quite entertaining, and I don't think Raw's been bad per se, but I haven't felt like I've had as much of a need to catch up with it every single week, because it's it's 3 hours. I find 2 hour shows a bit easier to digest, And I don't know. Yeah, like we said, it's just something about what AEW is doing. It's just a bit more compelling at the moment. They have the tournament going on, whereas it feels like WWE's more so just like biding time. Like WWE's wrestling has been good on week to week basis. They've had some good rematches from WrestleMania. So the wrestling I've seen, I enjoyed. It's just not necessarily enough to keep me hooked in for a 3 hour show with no crowd, right?
Yeah. Well, it's true. And I mean, like, so last week we're all watching Dynamite together, and Dustin Rhodes, he's having his match with Lance Archer.
Sure. Yeah.
And, we discussed it beforehand. Well, is he going to go over Lance Archer? Is he going to go in the final? Is it going to be brother versus brother? Is that how he wants to retire? Is he going to retire? Right. Or is it going to be a squash? Is Lance Archer going to walk through this guy? And now we've set up an incredible match for Cody versus Lance. I mean, we're not sure what happens with Dustin beyond here. I mean, I'm making the assumption that he's going to retire. Now he's going to retire after putting Lance Archer over. That's what I'm thinking. But I mean, he got beat bloody. He was looking bad at the end of that match. Cody was out there with a towel. It was a big event, and I care. I give a shit now. I can't wait for the next match. I can't wait to see Cody versus Lance. I want to see what happens, and I'm invested. And that was all thanks to Dustin and Lance. I thought that was done incredibly well, and it's a prime example of why week after week I'm interested in watching AEW, regardless of who may or may not be sitting in the crowd. That match was good. I mean, it wasn't a spectacular technical match. No. It felt a little bit long at times, I felt, but I cared. And as Dustin got beat down more and more, I was like, holy shit, how do you come back from this? So I'm interested to see where they go from it. Now, I don't know, maybe maybe you've heard, maybe it's out there in the news and everybody else to me is tracking. But I think Dustin's going to retire after this. What about you?
I feel like if he was going to retire, he would say. I feel like I don't think he would retire on an empty arena match. I feel like he would. I think like he deserves a bit of a send off. Maybe they could have that send off aside from a match. So I feel like he has a bit left in the tank, like Mark Henry would say. Got a lot left in the tank. But I don't think he's retiring quite yet. I don't think he is going to go too much longer, but I think he's going to wait to have his last match in front of a crowd.
Yeah, I guess we'll see.
I think, in that first round, he said, I'm going to retire if I don't win this. So he won that. I don't think losing to Archer is going to be his last match. I don't think he's going to retire anytime super soon. I think he's going to wait for this all to blow over before he does that.
I'm hoping to see him go now. I mean, he got his ass beat. He got absolutely demolished. He looked good doing it, but he got bloodied. He got battered. He has no business being in the ring with those elite guys anymore. And if you can't be at that upper echelon and compete for the title, why do it at all? I mean, he looks good. Go out, putting Lance on top. Go out, be proud that you went out in blood all over your face. I mean, if I was a lifelong wrestler and I was going to go out my last match, one, I'd want to put a guy over, and like a new guy who's not completely over, and then I would want to go out in a blaze of glory, bloody me up, hit me with some shit, send me home packing.
Yeah, that's a good point, and I think regardless of whether he does retire soon, I think that was he did a good job putting Lance over. I think Lance had 2 or 3 matches in AEW before that, but they were all just like squash matches. He fought like Marco Stunt and just destroyed him and shit like that. So it was good to see him destroy somebody, but not have it be a squash match. Like actually there was a bit of back and forth, but overall, like Lance still just fucking inflicted a ton of damage on Dustin. And it probably made people who haven't been familiar with Lance's work in New Japan that like, okay, this guy's a legit threat. And he could win the title. I don't know, what do you think regarding the finals, Cody versus Lance? Like, I honestly think either one would be a fine choice for the first.
It could go either way, but my question is Cody can't compete for the title. Oh, this is for the new Dynamite title or the new TNT title.
Not the world title, not the main title, but
so Cody is eligible for that.
He can still fight for that. So
all right. Oh. Yeah, then honestly, in that case, I have no idea. I think it could go either way. I want to say Cody's going to win. He just watched his brother get the shit kicked out of him. If it were my brother, you would have to kill me to stop me after that. So I think Cody's going to bring everything he has, and I think it'll be enough. I think he'll get past Lance, but I don't think it'll be easy.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm leaning more towards Cody just because I didn't necessarily even think Cody was going to put MJF over. Like, I thought he was going to get him over as a heel, but I think Cody might still win that match. But the fact that MJF beat Cody, I would be pretty surprised if then he lost his next major feud too.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of going a bit back and forth, but I'm leaning a bit more towards Cody on this one, because they established with Jake the Snake kind of cutting that promo on Cody early on. They planted the seeds a bit early of him getting under Cody's skin, and it kind of culminated with Lance kicking the shit out of Dustin. So they have Archer with Jake the Snake as his manager. If that lasts, I think that's a really good pairing. But I'm still leaning a bit more towards Cody being the first champ here. Now, the only reason I think that might not be the case is that we have Moxley with the main title now, and he's a face. So maybe they want to start a heel champion for the mid-card title rather than have a face with both. So maybe I'm looking too much into it here, but I think they might want to give a heel the title first. That's the only kind of reason I think Archer might have a decent shot as well, along with the fact
now, Cody wins and turns heel. You get both best of both worlds. Cody turns on Dustin last minute, beats the shit out of him too, wins the title, and now you have a title-holding heel, as well as keep between Dustin, Cody, and maybe that's when Dustin.
Can you imagine? I don't know if I like the idea, but like I don't know if they'll do it yet. But clearly, at some point, they're gonna turn Cody heel, and he's gonna have like a crazy heel run, and it's gonna be awesome.
I feel like they've already started pushing him towards being a heel. I mean, that the last match on Dynamite, and he was doing dirty shit.
He has some heel tendencies. Yeah, you're right. So
I think they're already pushing towards it, and it might be the beer talking. I'm gonna keep drinking the beer, and I might be a little loopy, but I think we're gonna see a heel turn really soon for Cody, and I wouldn't be surprised to see the strap around his waist when it happens.
I like it. I like the hot take. I like the predictions. I think that's the kind of stuff I want to start hearing on this podcast.
Then I'll cut it out because I am not trying to make you fucking happy. You're on my butt. It's the next segment. Let's move on. This is bullshit.
All right, move on. Oh, still current events, but not AEW. I think we've talked enough about AEW. I want to talk a little bit about Money in the Bank. I don't really know if I have like a strong prediction either way. There's still one spot open. I don't know who they're going to give that to. I feel like
Hogan.
Hogan
going to Hulk, baby. He's coming back. He's going to go over, and he's going to win the title and retire with it. So they won't have one anymore.
I feel like if any pay-per-view you bet on Hogan going over, it can't be too much of a long shot.
It's always 50-50. It could be WrestleMania 336. It's still 50-50.
Yeah.
It's immortal.
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know, looking at the contestants, I like Otis just winning it on a complete underdog shot. And I like Aleister Black too. I don't know if he'd be the best guy for Money in the Bank per se, but I do like him as a potential future feud with Drew.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that idea too, but I feel the same. I don't know if I want to see him win Money in the Bank, because to me, Money in the Bank is supposed to be, well, not supposed to be, but generally, Money in the Bank is for that guy you wouldn't think would make it to the title picture. Aleister Black has been pushed as if he's going to be in the title picture eventually since he made his debut on the main show. So I personally would like to see someone that you wouldn't expect it. Now, Otis is perfect because, I mean, he's a tag team guy. It's all we've ever seen him do. He's hilarious, and he's actually a pretty good damn wrestler for a guy his size. So I would love to see him win it and then get himself in title contention outside of the tag team arena. But I mean, there's other guys in there too, like Rey Mysterio. You're not going to see him go for a straight title shot anymore. He's not going to be in the running. However, you could make it make sense if somehow he wins the Money in the Bank competition. Then all of a sudden now a guy who's, should probably or is getting close to being retired, now he's back at the top of his game again. I mean, he's always at the top of it. He's Rey Mysterio. He's not at he's one of the best of all time. But
Mortal.
We don't expect to see him, in the heavyweight title contention anymore. However, a win at Money in the Bank would make it make sense.
Yeah, that's actually a good pick. I could see. I want Otis to kind of be the podcast official pick, because he's too easy to root for. But Here's what I'm thinking. The TBD spot. Jeff Hardy's making his return this week to SmackDown. Maybe he enters the match. Maybe he gets a final singles push.
That could be a good one.
This is like something I've heard rumblings of on the internet, so it's not just my own basis. I think they do want to give him a little bit of a push as a singles guy now that Matt's in AEW, especially. So I could see him being the last entrant in the match. I could maybe see him being a winner if he is in there, but again, maybe a bit of a long shot because he's had issues. He is a bit old now. So
he is. However, he's a legend in the game, and a lot of people like seeing him.
Yeah, for sure. So him and Ray, similar situation. They could give him like the late career kind of curtain call title shot or title run, I should say. So
for sure. Yeah. No, that would be.
I like it.
With that, I like it. I like the idea. I don't have any other ideas of who might be in the unknown spot. I'm a bit out of the loop with the current WWE shows because I haven't watched the last couple episodes, so I'm a little off.
Hey, man, neither has Vince.
What happened?
They're making it up week to week at this point. There'll be some sort of qualifier on Raw or SmackDown this week. We'll figure out the last entrant.
You weren't invited to WrestleMania, but you showed up anyways and won the title.
Okay, so Drew is champ. He's been pretty entertaining on Raw each week. I just want to know, like, it looks like he's feuding with Seth next. Who would you like to see him feud with after that?
Oh, Drew. I'd like to see, honestly, man, he's such a good fucking, good character. Because you know what? I like him as a heel. I like him as a face. I think he's got the build that Vince McMahon drools over. I think he's, for a bigger dude, he's a great wrestler. And I think he's one of those guys that could carry guys. Honestly, a lot of people aren't going to like this, but I'd really, really like to see him go up against Taker. Even if they have to do some of the bullshit they did with AJ Styles, I think Drew has enough skills to be able to carry Taker. It's big dude versus big dude again, and maybe an opportunity for Taker to pass the torch and call it quits while he's still looking good. You know, I don't want to see Taker look bad. I want to see him go looking good.
Back. Yeah, I think Drew would be a good choice. And who knows, right? Like the next live event they're able to have might be SummerSlam. It might even be later than that. So I think it's a good idea to have some kind of big name feud like that. I could see them maybe doing Taker.
I'd be okay with them dragging out to WrestleMania next year. Honestly, I want to see Taker going on top. I like Drew. I want to see Drew do well. And for me, it would be an amazing. It would be amazing passing of the torch. For Taker to have Drew go over and Taker call that his final match. And I mean, I can't state it enough. I mean, you know, The Undertaker is one of my all-time favorites. I met him when I was younger. Didn't even know it was him, but I met him, and my dad had to tell me afterwards that it was fucking The Undertaker, because he was at a character for a minute. You know, I caught him off guard, and he was very friendly to me. Fucking giant dude. I mean, I'm 6'2". I wasn't at the time. But I was still a tall kid, and he made me look like a midget. But the thing is, you know, I want to see him go out good. I want to see him look good. AJ Styles made him look awesome. I mean, Taker looks awesome on his own. I know he can carry his own match, but the reality is, you know, he needs someone that can dance with him, and I think Drew can. And I want to see him done justice.
Yeah, I think Drew could do that for sure, and I think the style of the match that they did at WrestleMania, and also the fact that they had AJ with them was pretty perfect. I don't think you could ask much more of a better partner than AJ, but Drew is pretty much up there too, and you know, he's a big guy as well. So I think it's a good idea, and I think it could go about as well as the AJ match did, which, you know, I think most people thought, you know, that was an extremely entertaining match. And speaking of AJ, I think seeing him now that Gallows and Anderson are released now, so they were part of that huge like 20-person release WWE did a while back. So I think that also probably opens the door for AJ to challenge for the main title at some point. I'd love to see AJ and Drew.
Oh, that'd be good.
AJ's on Raw, so he wouldn't have to switch shows or anything. I think they got to do that at some point. That would be a really good match potentially.
Oh, that would be a good match. I would love to see that as well. I'd like to see how AJ, as technical and as great as he is, how he overcomes Drew's size and strength.
Yeah, for sure. That could be really good. something they could do this year. Other than that, well, we got the women's Money in the Bank. We can touch on that briefly, and then maybe go into our list segment after that. That match has all been decided in terms of the participants. We got Asuka, Shayna Baszler, Nia Jax, Dana Brooke, Lacey Evans, and Carmella, who has won the women's Money in the Bank before. So I don't know too much of the build behind this. I mean, they've only had so much time to build up. I love Asuka a lot. I think she, especially as a heel, would probably be my pick to win this. Becky's had the title for over a year now. She's had a good title reign, but it feels like no one's really been built up enough to take her down with credibility. So I feel like if Asuka, who's booked pretty strong lately anyway, especially as a heel, wins Money in the Bank, I could see her taking the title off Becky if she wins. So she's my pick.
Yeah, I gotta go with. I think I gotta go with Lacey Evans. I mean, she came in as a heel. She was brought in as a sassy Southern belle. She was booed relentlessly, ex-Marine. She earned the cheers on her own. She wasn't pushed as a face, but now she's one of the the top women faces. She's coming in. She's big. She's strong. Like I said, ex-soldier. What more could you want? I love Lacey Evans. I don't like Shayna Baszler. I think Asuka's great. I think she's amazing, but I want to see Lacey go the whole way, and I think she could take it to Becky.
Yeah, I think she's a pretty strong pick too. I think she's looking pretty good as a face so far. She reminds me of Liberty Bell from Glow, the show. But I think she works as a face because I think of, like you said, her real life background. I think she's at first I was like, how are they going to make her likable? But after a while, I was like, no, it's working. She works as a face.
Did it on her own, man. She's great.
Yeah, for sure. So I think that's a pretty good pick. I wouldn't. I'm kind of in the same boat with Baszler. She was super strong in NXT. I can't really see them giving her Money in the Bank. I think Lacey or Asuka are probably the top two choices there.
Only way to find anything can happen on WWE.
Oh yes, I mean, what happened last year with Money in the Bank? Brock entered the match, and we didn't know that he was even in it, and he won.
I'm gonna say, you know what? This last year of Brock has been refreshing because I was a massive shit talker of him. But you know what? When he wants to, he is amazing.
The Rumble was pretty awesome. I mean, like, we were texting back and forth, basically complaining.
Dude, turned halfway through the match, we turned.
Yeah. Once Brock had a few cool eliminations, and then it was obvious, like, they did all that in order to build up to how amazing Drew eliminating him was. It's like, oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah. He sold Drew like crazy. It was awesome. That at the first couple eliminations, like, okay, Brock is gonna squash 30 dudes, and that's all we're paying to watch right now. Yeah. But it wasn't. He squashed a lot of dudes, but he did it good. Like, he did it well. It was each person was eliminated a bit different. I mean, the way he played to the crowd, played to the camera in between. Brock was awesome. And after the Royal Rumble, the last Royal Rumble, I'm a fan of Brock now, and I was not before. I was basically holding him up as the next guy that can get the fuck out because I'm sick of seeing him on TV, and I know he's taking all the money from the other wrestlers. But at the same time, he's pretty damn good. It's just sometimes
when you can tell he's into it, he's really good.
Yeah.
And the Rumble was honestly one of the better Rumbles I've seen. It was well done.
And when he finally got fucking eliminated, man, it was like...
Yeah. You can tell. It's like, okay, they're building up to that. So, I think we've covered all the recent events here. So, I want to start a list segment. Or try to make this be semi-regular part of the show. So, this doesn't have to be your favorite 3 of all time, because I don't want to put you on the spot. But I just want to know 3 of your favorite matches of all time. If you need a second, I can go first, but just three matches that you think are personal favorites, important matches, whatever.
Okay, well, I don't need a sec. I can go. This is in no particular order. I have many matches I love, many wrestlers I love, and I don't know that I have a particular absolute favorite. I have a few that are up there. Now, one that comes to mind right away, and I can hear the snickers already, DDP and Goldberg.
Yes.
You know, Goldberg, say what you will. You know, he's not the most technical wrestler. However, DDP was known for rehearsing his matches a lot, and a lot of wrestlers do not like rehearsing. A lot of times they want to go out there and they want to feel the crowd, and they want to, they want to go where the crowd takes them, where the moves take them, and that's great. I admire that. However, DDP was always, from my understanding and just reading about him, was always very much, he was a bit of a perfectionist. He liked to rehearse matches. He liked to make sure they were going to look good before he went out there. He really cared about what the fans thought. He really cared about putting on just the absolute perfect match he could. And as I'm sure everyone's aware, he was much older than most people when he got into wrestling. He was in his late 30s. I think he was 39 years old when he went from being a manager to a wrestler. That's already pretty old for a wrestler. So, I think to compensate for some of that, to make sure he was still going to be the top guy, he wanted to rehearse everything. I admire him for that. I think that was fantastic. I think the reason why we have highlight reels of different angles of him smashing people with the diamond cutter was specifically because of that. He wanted to make sure spots were perfect. He did this with Goldberg. I don't know. I'm not sure whether Goldberg liked rehearsing matches or not. I don't know. But I know that they did rehearse this match a bit. And it shows. It shows because it was one of Goldberg's longer matches. It was not a straight squash. There was some times that you thought DDP was going to win. I remember watching it. I mean, when I watched it most recently, I was, at this age. But every time I watch it, I get excited, even though I know Goldberg's going to win at the end. I get excited because there's a few spots where it's like, he's got a fucking diamond cutter. He reversed the jackhammer to a diamond cutter. And I thought
do that. And every time you watch it, you're still expecting DDP to win.
It's over. Goldberg did a damn backflip as a reversal. It was cool. It was really cool to watch. So that's definitely up there for me. It's one of the three I'm going to list right now. I got to go with Rock Austin. The first WrestleMania. You know which one it is. Tell me which one I'm thinking of. You're
talking 17?
17 with the awesome Limp Bizkit workup.
We're talking Limp Bizkit My Way promo.
Yeah.
The best pre-match promo of all time.
That match, an incredible match, but the workup to the match, the build-up for the year before, that was something that we'll never forget. And we watched just the promo for it, probably more than we watched the match. It's such a good work, and I love it. So that's got to be 2. I got to go with that one.
Good
and
call.
then you know what? I'm gonna go with a little bit of an Attitude Era. I want to go with Inferno match. The first Inferno match, Undertaker. And I'm pretty sure it's Kane. I don't want to sound like a complete buffoon, but I'm pretty sure Undertaker Kane Inferno match.
Yep.
Not highly technical, but groundbreaking, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, for sure. I think like Kane and Undertaker, that feud is pretty iconic, and I think their feud in general spawned a lot of that, like those kind of creative matches, all the way up to this WrestleMania's like Boneyard match. That kind of theme, that you always think of Undertaker and or Kane when you think of a Buried Alive and Inferno or any of these kind of matches. Yeah.
It's a scary match. Which one is it? Undertaker or Kane? Both of them.
I read an article recently that like when they announced Taker and Styles as a Boneyard match, like Vince didn't even know what it was. So there's like him and Triple H is like, I don't even know what a Boneyard match is, and there's like Triple H is like, well, what do you want it to be? And he's like, just make it good. Oh, sure.
He didn't know what a fucking ladder match it was either before they did it. Like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so the list I made, 3 of my favorite matches of all time. I got HBK and Undertaker at Mania 25. So, I mean, I could put 25 or 26 on this list. I feel like I'll probably show you guys, I don't know if we've even seen it before, but I'll probably watch one of those at least for the show, maybe both. But 25 is just, it's 2 guys who they're old enough that you'd think they'd be past their prime, but they're still in their prime. They're in their second prime. This is still 10 years ago at this point, but 10 years ago, HBK and Taker were still looking really good. And just the kind of background of the match, the emotion behind the match, just kind of how Shawn's introduced from the top. He kind of comes down like an angel in all white, and then Undertaker comes up from the floor in all black. The promo from the match is really good. The lead up is really good. Like I said, between this and WrestleMania 26, I go back and forth all the time. But I think as just a pure wrestling match as a whole, I like 25 a little bit more. So that's the first one on the list there. The second one I have is The Rock versus Triple H from Backlash 2000. So that one it's a bit overbooked in the sense that you got like Shane as the guest ref, and you got Vince in Triple H's corner, and Linda in The Rock's corner, or something like that. So like you got everything working against The Rock, where the ref's against him, he's outnumbered, all this shit. So that's the match you get, where you get a cool spot where The Rock is about to put Triple H through the table with a rock bottom. Shane tries to interrupt, so he grabs Shane too and puts them both through the table with a rock bottom. I always loved that spot. And then, of course, you get Austin coming back with the fucking one of the hugest pops ever, and he just hits everyone with the hit chair except The Rock. So it's just that little moment where, not so long ago, he was hitting The Rock in order to have Mankind win the title. So the fact that he comes down, hits everyone but The Rock, it was just a real good moment to have Stone Cold return in. And you just love to see Rock win the title off of Triple H, because he just kept getting screwed. He was chasing the title for a while, and they just like kept adding new rules, and they kept like screwing him over, and The Rock kept losing. So to have finally Stone Cold return and The Rock win the title after all that was just the culmination of like a bunch of frustration being a Rock fan and having him not win the title for a while, and then just like boom. So that was the perfect time to beat Triple H, and I will always remember that match very fondly. It's not like the best wrestling match ever. It's a quite good one, but just the timing of everything, the shenanigans outside of the ring, I think it's all done really well. And third, this one's been talked about a million times, but Bret and Stone Cold from WrestleMania 13.
Bret, who's Bret?
Bret, the guy the guy who screwed Bret.
Oh, Bret Clark.
Yes, Bret the Hitman Clark.
Yes, I know of him. Canadian, I think.
Yes, exactly. likes the color pink.
Oh, you mean that guy who's like one of the greatest of all time? Yeah.
Yes.
I got him.
Yes, exactly, and Canadian legend from our home country. So there's not much to be said about this match that's already been said. We've watched through it recently. It completely holds up. You can watch Austin's commentary on it, and it's really good. You can watch Bret and Austin talk about it on Austin's podcast, and they'll probably go into way more detail than we ever could. But the whole thing is just everything down to like the facial expressions, to the slow double turn where Bret gets more and more desperate as the match goes on, and Stone Cold becomes more and more resilient, and the fans kind of you can tell by the start they're ready to cheer for Stone Cold, but they're not fully there yet. But by the end, when you get Bret holding on with the hold for too long, and Ken Shamrock fucking suplexing him onto his side, which was amazing. Everything from just the way the match was laid out beforehand, and the way the double turn is done, and the amount of attention to detail that goes into it, especially when you hear them do the commentary on the match, is just super impressive. And you can watch the match, it's probably 25 minutes, and it'll fly by like it goes by in 5 minutes. So
the old double turn. You know what? If I could go back and change my list, you might have sold me, but I'm not doing it because I'm a stubborn asshole.
It's 3 of your favorite matches, not your top 3, because I don't want to make everyone narrow things down to 3, and say these are better than everything else. That's why it's just 3 of your favorite matches.
It's okay. From now on, week to week, every time we do this, I'm just going to use, like, my 3 matches will just be your 3 matches from last episode. That's all I'm doing.
That'll save you some work.
It's a lot of work. I'm late.
Hell yeah. So should we get into an actual match?
Yeah, you know what? Let's do it. I have some. So let's do WrestleMania 10, legendary WrestleMania, and let's do Bret versus Owen.
Yes, let's do that, please.
Now, before we get into this, legendary. So just preemptively, WrestleMania 10 had happened March 20th, 1994, and it was at Madison Square Garden. So leading up to this, in the Royal Rumble prior, Bret Hart and Lex Luger eliminated each other at the same time to basically what the president at the time had called a double elimination, and they both won. That means at WrestleMania, technically, they both have a shot at the title, and that will come into play later. We'll talk about that maybe after. And it also marks the first WrestleMania without Hulk Hogan, and this will be the last WrestleMania that you'll ever see Macho Man Randy Savage. In fact, it's the last time you'll see Macho Man Randy Savage wrestling for the WWE on TV. The storyline between the Hart brothers began at Survivor Series in 1993, and they were competing on the same side in an elimination match. Essentially, Owen was fighting in the ring. Bret had sustained an injury and was staggering along the ring apron. Owen accidentally ran into him, Owen ran into Bret, causing him to lose his focus, and then he got eliminated from the match. So after the match, Owen returned to the ring and had a confrontation with Bret, and that would kind of kick things off to bring them to where they're at now, where two of the closest brothers are fighting at WrestleMania. One of the biggest, one of the biggest event of all time, WrestleMania.
Awesome. I appreciate the background because, like we said, there's a lot of matches that some of us are more familiar with than others. As much as wrestling as we've seen, I haven't watched this classic match, so just to know a little bit of background is awesome, and that's what this podcast is going to be all about. It's kind of.
And I can't wait. I've watched it, not recently, but I expect two of the greatest technical wrestlers of all time. I mean, there's no way this match isn't anything but highlight reels. I mean, I know what happens after. I know the workings. I already know this is a good match. I know that it's a historic match. I know we know all of this, but we're gonna watch it now, and we're gonna see what our reactions are. It's gonna be good.
Cool. Sounds good. So we'll start it now, and then we'll get a little bit of a post-match discussion in after. It's been on my list forever.
They gotta bring back all of these outfits. I'm digging them. All these people make me look tough. All of them, and that's hard to do.
This really is kind of end of an era, since you mentioned it. If this is the first Mania without Hulk Hogan, and this is the first Mania, or the last Mania with Macho Man.
Yeah.
It really is kind of the end of an era, and ushering in more so the Bret Hart and the HBK kind of era in the 90s. Right, but that awkward phase in between the Golden Age and the Attitude Era.
Absolutely. I can't wait. All right, Bret's in the ring. It's over. It's done. Hey, you wore the same tights as me.
Yeah, they copied each other.
I'm telling Dad.
Yeah, when they got in the fight, it's like, well, you're gonna have to change your gear. It's like, I'm not changing my gear. You change yours. You started this. It's like, no, you did. Well, I'm keeping my gear. Well, I am too.
Heel does slap. I don't know if that's not news.
Heel does heel things.
Yeah. Heel acts like bad guy. Heel not very nice.
Small talk. I've never been in a fight in my life.
Concrete Elite Angel there probably could. Concrete Angel, is that who it was? What's his fucking... I don't know. He says he's our friend. He says he wants to
I forgot the kid
show up.
I forgot Kid Concrete was supposed to be a part of this podcast. We'll have to see if he wants to be part of the next one, or if he's missing, or what the deal is.
All right, yeah. Kid Curb Stomp there.
Yeah. We'll see.
I don't think he'll show. I think he's gonna flake.
Yeah, I think he might be. He might be a coward like Marty Jannetty here, and just never.
Hey, you take that back, because Marty Jannetty won the goddamn intercontinental title. Marty Jannetty is one of the greatest of all time. I don't even care what his Twitter says.
Oh God, let's not get into that. We need to have a whole episode on Marty Jannetty's social media. I can't get to that now.
Where you read all of Marty Jannetty's tweets, and I'll read all of Hulk Hogan's tweets, and then we'll just watch to see what our families are doing in the background. Just watch as they're packing their shit up, getting ready to leave. These guys are fucking lost.
Back to Bret and Owen. I mean, I feel like if you watch this whole match trying to look for a fuck up, you wouldn't really find it.
I feel like this is the type of match that if you make the mistake of showing somebody who doesn't watch wrestling to get them into wrestling, they will get into wrestling, but then they'll never be able to find a match that's as good as this, and then they'll get out of it very quickly.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, you don't like wrestling? Watch this. Oh, that was amazing. Show me something else like that. No, there's nothing else.
That's about it.
That was the one. Oh, that was a nasty German suplex. The way they used to sell things so realistically, where they didn't need to take like a giant back bump. All they need to do was realistically fall like they just got hit in the fucking throat.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
much better. Like, you don't need to flower around the ring when you take a bump. You don't need to flip 8 times. All you need to do is make it look like you got hit hard. Hey, wait a minute. You can't do the sharpshooter. It's Bret Hart you played with.
And he can't.
Oh.
Smooth
Wow.
reversal. Ooh, nice.
I didn't know that was. I've never seen that reversal to a sharpshooter. Just roll the way he was going, anyways.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just that easy. Turns out,
Oh,
after all these,
it wasn't a very effective move. You could just roll.
everyone just knew what Owen knew. I love the pacing of this match. It's just like it's not starting slow and picking up the pace. It's not starting fast and slowing down. It's just consistent throughout. There's never more than 10 seconds where there's sitting around. You're not waiting for anything to happen. It's consistent action, good reversals, good chain wrestling. There's nothing boring about it.
Well, and they keep like injuries. Like Bret, he's nursing a knee right now. Like, today you could beat the shit out of his knee today, and he'll sell it for like maybe a couple moves after that. But by the end of the match, he doesn't have a knee injury anymore. Bret will milk that knee injury the whole time because the reality is your knee doesn't heal that fucking fast. If you get destroyed in the knee like Owen's doing to Bret right now, it doesn't just go away. And I love that. I love that when they sell something, that when they pick a body part, they tear it apart, and then it tells a story all by itself.
Yeah, and you can tell it's working on both sides. Like Bret is completely selling it, but Owen is just solely working the left knee right now. That's all you see.
Trying to take out that knee, and that's telling the story. I mean, that's all you need to do.
Yeah.
Well, how the hell did Owen Hart beat Bret? Well, he took his leg from him. How do you do a sharpshooter if you can't use your knee? If you can't put any weight on it? How do you do any of your moves? You might be the biggest dude in wrestling right now, but if the other guy gets one of your limbs and it's gone and you can't walk anymore, perfect.
Owen making fun of him. Did you get that?
Yeah.
Like mock limping. Oh, my knee. Oh. Love it.
He's
like
still
everything
going at
he's doing is centered around the left knee.
Yeah, and it works. It's telling us. I love it. It's so much better. Now, I mean, it's just like, how many big fucking spots can I do? Even if they have nothing to do with the same limb. So I hit you with a throat chop, and then I do a Alabama slam. It's like, well, those are two great moves, big moves, awesome bumps, but they have nothing to do with each other, and they're not chaining anything. Like, I don't have anything hurt. You're not continuing pain on my back. You're not doing anything. You're just hitting me with one move and then moving on to something that has nothing to do with anything else you were trying to do. There's no tactics in it.
Yeah, and when you get Owen and Bret in a match, you're getting two guys who completely care about that storytelling side of things. So you're going to get just the most attention to detail for things like that. As you hear Bret talk about his matches, and he always mentions things like this, like the little, oh, this is being injured, so I'm selling this. Like, you can tell when he talks about matches that's something he very much cares about.
Well, that's why he's one of the, if not the greatest of all time. He cared that much.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to argue if someone wants to say that he's the best.
He's definitely up there.
Yeah, it's hard to, I love to make my lists, but it's hard to really name a best wrestler ever. Different factors, depending on what you're talking about, but Bret's up there with just about anyone in terms of in-ring work. Absolutely. And I mean, we clearly got robbed of, part of Owen's career that I'm sure he would have put on numerous fantastic matches too. I think when you're wrestling this kind of style, if these guys were able to keep wrestling, they would have been able to be continuing to put on really good matches into their 40s if they didn't have the unfortunate incidents they did.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I mean, I just wish there was more guys like this now. I mean, not to take away from the talent that's in there now, but it's just different. And I mean, it could be the crowd, the atmosphere around too. Like when Bret and Owen were going, I mean, the crowd was different. They didn't have the access to information that we have now. They couldn't just go on the internet and Google everything they wanted to Google. They couldn't look at it, couldn't rewatch matches. They couldn't, it was much harder back then. So, I mean, a lot of that may come into it too, and why these matches were so good and why the crowd was popping so hard. However, I don't know. Like I've watched these. I remember watching these when I was a kid. I remember the crowd. I remember how into it I was in, how into it I was, how into it my dad was. And I've been to live events now. I watch live events now, and it's just not the same. I mean, the crowd's great sometimes. When you're there in person, it's amazing. But on TV, it's fine. But I'm not seeing the storytelling that used to happen in the ring. Like the ring psychology just isn't there anymore. Even with the top guys. I mean, you look at John Cena, you look at Roman Reigns, both amazing guys, and I like them both, and they're amazing wrestlers. But their ability to tell stories in the ring are not there. It's just not there like it used to be.
Yeah, I think with those guys, as good as they are and as hard as they've worked, you kind of can tell a little bit they've been molded by the exact WWE style that they've wanted them to kind of do over the last few years. As good as they are, you get like you can tell that they've been told to do it a certain way.
Yeah,
and
it's much more scripted, I think, now than it was back then. And I mean, they're a product of their time. So I mean, they're the way they are with wrestling. WWE is the way it is now, probably because it's evolved that way. I mean, it's easy for us to take care of, be like, oh, we do it this way. But the reality is, if we were hired by WWE, we'd do it how they fucking told us to. So
yeah, I agree that this kind of wrestling is missing nowadays. You get it with certain people, you get it with certain matches, but a lot of the time you don't get it with the main matches. You might need to watch something on the undercard to get something like this nowadays. And
where I like the thing is, like watching indie matches, I feel like the storytelling's still there sometimes, like on the lower end promotions, the indie matches, things like that. That type of wrestling still happens. It's just not big shows. Now, the problem is that the indie matches and some of the lower end, like the stuff that I was involved with, that storytelling aspect was there, but the ability wasn't. The wrestling wasn't as good. Like, we were never, like, the guys weren't as good at it. It just, the training wasn't there, the practice wasn't there, the experience wasn't there. So, like, but the storytelling was. I mean, I could watch matches in a fucking campground and see guys, like, selling a match or telling a good story.
Absolutely.
If I was the referee, that would have been done. I was like, this is tap.
Actually, I've seen taps nowadays. Like, the bell gets rang quicker than that. Yeah, I think maybe you'll get, depending on who he's wrestling, maybe a Daniel Bryan match that resembles this, but there's not too many wrestlers that are going to give you the same style in current WWE.
No, and you know who is kind of doing it really well? Ricochet.
Yeah.
He was more of a flyer. He wasn't technical, but I felt like he was much better at, like, because there was a few times where you'd see someone attack his leg because he's a high flyer, and he'd limp his ass to the corner to jump off the corner. Yeah. Oh, look, Vince McMahon on the corner of his mouth.
Yeah, he got the spit on the corner of his mouth, and he continued to cut the post-match promo with that spit on the side.
I really want to win, Vince. How do I win? I'll tell you, we can come behind this door with me for a minute. Are you sure Bret won't mind? Of course Bret won't mind. We're going to do it again to him in a couple of years with Shawn. He just doesn't know it yet. You're going to tell him, right? No, we're not going to tell him.
Yeah, I think I do agree where, like, Ricochet is a lot more high flying, but he seems like he's mindful about what he's selling and stuff.
Yeah.
AEW has some of it. I find, like, with the tag team division, sometimes you get a little bit too much no selling for my liking, but I mean, when you get the main event matches, like Moxley Omega. There was some good selling in that. It's just I find sometimes in the tag division it's a bit too much back and forth with no selling. If you add just like a little bit more selling, I think you could have a good match. And I think that is what you get from Bret and Owen that you might be missing a little bit nowadays, where there's like a consistent story being told throughout the match of someone working a body part, and then at the end, Bret isn't able to fully execute all of his moves because his left knee is so bad. So at first you see Owen working the knee, and then you see Bret trying to pull off a couple moves that fail because of his knee. And then you end up getting Owen winning at the end on a bit of a reversal because Bret doesn't have the strength to kick out. So,
yeah, I mean, how much of the win, too, came from Bret underestimating his little brother? I mean, this is their first technical match, I guess. This is the first time they've gone at it, I think. But, they probably wrestled as kids, all this. And, I mean, how much of it was Bret going like, he can't beat me, he never has. And some of it, Owen comes out on top, and that's why we see the surprise we have, along with Owen, learning from his big brother, figuring out his moves, being able to isolate that knee, take that knee out of the equation, and then, like you said, now Bret can't quite perform the way he's used to performing, and on top of that, he didn't expect to lose going into the match. Yeah,
for sure. I like the decision to have Owen win. Like you said, I don't know if they've met after this. You got to assume that they wrestled each other a bunch of times growing up and have practiced together because everything looks completely second nature to them. Every reversal looks so smooth. So you gotta figure they've been practicing together for years upon end, which they must.
They have, and actually, so after this, they went on to have a lengthy feud, and they have fought a few times, and all the matches, from my memory, were amazing. And
so more to add to the list.
I think they had a really good steel cage match too, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember when. We could look it up, but they had a really good
meeting. But there's more where that came from.
So we finished the match. We're here. It was an amazing match. I don't know. I could watch that. I could almost watch that every night along with other matches.
Yeah, I mean it's not, you're not bored at any point. The wrestling is just like, watching it is like music to my ears. It's very smooth. I think in terms of a technical wrestling match, there's not really anything more you could ask for. In terms of the style of match it is, it doesn't have everything that any wrestling match could potentially have, but in terms of what it is, it has everything it needs.
It's certainly not the be-all, end-all of wrestling matches, but I mean, if you're into technical wrestling, it's what you hope to see. It's what you want to see. So it's a great match. I mean, the thing is, like I was saying earlier, this WrestleMania 10, this was a huge event. After this, one of the big events that happens after is Bret goes on to win the heavyweight title this night. He just fucking lost to his brother, but by the end of the night, he'll be holding the strap, and that's what
that's insane, yeah.
And that's what sets this whole feud in motion. I mean, imagine being Owen Hart. You just beat your brother, and now your brother gets to win the title at the end of the night. You've got to feel like you deserve it. So as I was saying before, the Royal Rumble was a bit of a toss-up at the end. So Lex Luger actually ended up fighting Yokozuna first. He was disqualified for pushing the referee, which would end up meaning Bret Hart comes out and gets to challenge Yokozuna for the title now. And Bret won. He won via pinfall, which would fuel the work feud between Bret and Owen for essentially the rest of the year. It was huge. And another interesting tidbit is before this match, so they had worked this match out to finish the spots weeks in advance. And the night or a couple nights before, essentially, maybe up to 4 nights before, Bret decided to change the match. So he called Owen, and the whole match changed. So to finish everything, they changed everything last minute, and that's what makes this match even better. They had a way, they had something in their mind they were going to do, and then they scrapped it. And essentially, my understanding is the match was changed because Bret looked at it and said, "You know what? You're too much of a babyface. If you're supposed to come in and be the heel, and you start doing top rope drop kicks and all these high flying moves, people are going to look at you and be like, how do I boo that?" So essentially, Bret decided that you need to be more of a heel in the match, which is why we started to see the taunting of Bret when Bret was limping and Owen was walking behind him going like, I mean, that's what this all stemmed from. Bret going like, you need to act like more of a heel. You can't do your high-flying moves. You can't do those crazy things. You need to do technical wrestling with me. You need to do more taunting, and you need to be dirty. And so this match was completely changed days before the big event, and it worked out so great.
Crazy, and it was the right call, clearly.
And it did, because beyond that, what ended up happening, I mean, it's hard to say one way or another that the actions that followed after the match were directly because of this. However, a lot of people look at this match as it sent Owen off into being one of the company's top heels. And then not only that, it solidified the ability for guys like the size of Bret and Owen. I mean, Bret was already there, but Owen's now here, that you don't have to be the size of Ultimate Warrior, Hulk Hogan, to be in title contention. This was where guys started to realize you can have guys that are the size of like Rey Mysterio or AJ Styles. They can go for the top title in the company if they can perform right. And Owen and Bret, a lot of people credit this match, this first match between Owen and Bret, to open the doors for so many wrestlers that we still see today being able to compete for titles that most people would say would be out of their reach. I mean, if you had to put Owen in 2 years before this and said Owen Hart was going to compete for the world title, they would have said he's not big enough.
Yeah.
I mean, for this match, nobody said that anymore. It was open game for that title, right?
I appreciate the context, because watching that match alone, it's great, but knowing that Bret loses that and then wins the title later that night makes complete sense that this feud continues beyond tonight. I think it was like completely the right call that Bret made to make Owen act a little bit more like a heel. I think him doing that within the match was awesome. And just the fact that I think, like you said, it makes sense that this match was so inspirational, like to a lot of young up-and-comers, to show that like smaller guys could have a chance. Because you think about a year ago before this at WrestleMania 9, you had Bret Hart losing to Yokozuna, and then Hogan coming out of nowhere and winning the title. So after years of Hulkamania, they were still kind of trying to cling on to that. But it feels like this WrestleMania was a bit more of a transition, especially if you had Bret winning the title in the end. So if WrestleMania 9 was, we're not quite ready to move on from Hulk Hogan, maybe WrestleMania 10 is, okay, let's try to work with Bret and let's put the title on him and see what we can do and try to usher in a new era of wrestling.
Yeah, no, it's a good event. And the funny thing for me is, so like, as you know, I'm rewatching essentially from the very first episode of Raw back in 1993, and I'm watching forward. So I'm actually not to WrestleMania 10 yet in my like day-to-day watching and trying to catch myself up. So right now in the storyline, Hulk Hogan is still the title. So when we fast forward today to go to WrestleMania 10, it took me a quick second to be like, wait, how does Bret Hart win the title from Yokozuna when Hulk Hogan has the title? So I'm playing that fun game now in my own head where, to me, 1993 is the present. And everything that happens when I watch those matches is what's happening right now in wrestling. And it's just not true. And it's actually a lot of fun for me to watch this now with you and be like, wait, well, how the... Oh, right, yeah, I'm watching matches that happened like 30 years ago.
Yeah, eventually you'll fill in the blanks of from where you're at now in your rewatch to this WrestleMania, and you'll be able to kind of fill in what happened in between. What did they do with the title to be able to move it around like that?
Absolutely, and I have to say that WWE Network subscription is more than paying for itself. I was skeptical at first that maybe I'll watch a couple matches like here and there, or a couple shows here and there, but it's probably not going to be worth like a monthly subscription. But I pretty much daily had that thing on, and now it's looking like a bargain.
Yeah, you come for the free trial around WrestleMania season, but then you stay for the old Raw episodes and the documentaries and all the cool archives they have. So, yeah.
Hey, WWE and whoever the hell has the the chokehold on the damn subscriptions in Canada, I don't want to have a fucking cable subscription to watch wrestling. I just want to pay for your app the same way I do Netflix and watch your shit. Stop making me have to buy cable to do it. I don't want cable. I don't watch cable. I don't care about cable. I can watch the fucking news on YouTube. I do not care.
Take our money. Take our money. Like
I'm gonna stop giving WWE money soon if they don't just make the app a standalone thing. I just want to watch wrestling. But if you keep making me have cable too, I'm gonna be done, and you're gonna have to deal with my YouTube views watching shit you post 3 years later about matches. Okay? Sorry, end rant, but
make it in Canada like it is in America. That's all. Just because
I get it. Probably not WWE's choice. I'm guessing there's regulations, like I think you mentioned before with the big three with Bell and Rogers. I'm guessing that they have some kind of stranglehold on whatever the hell cable plans. But it is infuriating to want to sign up for WWE Network and have to put in your cable provider information. I don't have a cable provider, man. I don't have cable.
Just take our money, please. Make it easier to take our money.
Buy merchandise. I'm going to watch all your matches. You don't need them. You do not need them. Whatever Netflix has going for their Canadian shit, ask them. Call Netflix guys. Like, hey, Captain Netflix, how the fuck are you streaming shit in Netflix in Canada without Rogers getting involved? And they're going to be like, oh, we just don't give a fuck about Rogers. And you're going to be like, okay. Oh, wait, I'm WWE and I have a lot of money. I don't need them either. And then you can do it, and I'll watch, and I'll love it. But I'm telling you right now, AEW comes out with it first. Bye-bye WWE Network, because the bullshit. I don't like cable.
I agree. So that's the rant of the day, and I wholeheartedly agree. Make it easier to get the WWE Network in Canada. Lots of people want to give you their money. I guarantee it. So I think in terms of the Bret Owen match, I think we've talked probably about all we can about that. Loved it. Went over some really good context around it that I had no idea. And
not that anyone asked, but I'm giving it a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, right. I mean, what else can you want? Like we said, the beauty of wrestling is you can have an amazing match for different reasons. It can be emotional, it can be an insane spot fest, or it can just be a technical masterpiece. So this was
one of my favorite matches. Still Eugene versus Coach.
As you should, as it should be. So if you want to switch gears, I would like to watch a New Japan match.
Oh, New Japan. All right. Yeah, I'm down for this. Admittedly, I am not up to date on New Japan. I don't really watch it. You and senior fucking mask face tried to get me
or concrete.
We did watch. It was around New Year's. We were a little bit in the bag, so I don't remember most of it. I know at the time I enjoyed myself a lot, but I have the benefit of watching what we're gonna watch going in brand new. So my reactions after the fact will be completely sincere. For better or for worse. If I don't like it, I will be blatantly upfront about that, and I will explain why I don't like it. But I'm sure I will. For sure.
This event, or this podcast, I should say, it isn't meant for everyone to love everything we see, but it's meant to show each other some matches that maybe one of us have seen or two of us have seen that the other hasn't. So, depending on what the promotion is and what the time frame is, a lot of the time there's things that two of us know better than the third of us. So New Japan's probably one of those. Kid Concrete and I have watched quite a few matches. I think I've shown some to Josh, but there's still a lot to be unturned, I think, and a lot of matches that I know you'll really enjoy. So the first one I'm picking for us is Moxley versus Ishii from the G1 last year. So this is a good start because the G1 is kind of my introduction to New Japan. It's a tournament they have every year, and the winner of it faces the holder of the title at Wrestle Kingdom, which is their Wrestlemania.
Who was at this point? I'm just trying to put myself back there. Who was holding the title at this point now? I know you said we're going to watch Ishii versus Jon Moxley. Love Jon Moxley. Yeah. I really don't know anything about Ishii, and I'm sure he's amazing. I mean, you seem to know him. I'm sure he's
really good. And honestly, in terms of New Japan guys, he's one I know a bit less about. When you hear New Japan guys, you think Okada, the main title holder. So he had a few legendary matches with Kenny Omega in years past, and he has the main title right now. You have guys like Ibushi, guys like Naito, guys like Tanahashi, and guys like Will Ospreay. So they have like a really talented roster. Ishii isn't even a guy I think of when I think of like one of the best New Japan wrestlers, but the fact that he had this hard-hitting match with Moxley, I think, is just a cool introduction to a certain side of New Japan for you. So there's probably a lot matches with a lot better high flyers. There's probably matches with some better technical wrestlers, but I just really liked what Moxley and Ishii brought to the table. Ishii is just like this. He's a Japanese guy. He's really thick. He's just known for like some hard-hitting matches. So some background here is just there isn't too much of a blood feud between the two or anything like that. All that really happened was Moxley showed up out of nowhere in New Japan. This was like a few weeks after he had his last match in WWE as Dean Ambrose. So he showed up in New Japan at first and was just like, I'm joining the G1. I'm fucking shit up. And not even long after that, he showed up at Double or Nothing for AEW and fucking attacked Kenny Omega and was like, I'm showing up here to fuck up shit too. So it would look like he was just, I'm done with WWE. I'm going to do everything I want to do right now. So before he fully set foot in AEW, he had this match or a series of matches in New Japan. And if I remember correctly, this was the first or second match in the G1 he had. So this tournament has Pool A and Pool B, and I think they both consist of 5 wrestlers, I want to say. And every wrestler in each pool wrestles each other. And whoever has the best record from Pool A faces whoever has the best record from Pool B in the G1 final. The winner of that faces the champion at Wrestle Kingdom.
So who's the champion at this point in the timeline? Do you remember?
Okada's the champion.
Okada, okay.
Yeah. But he's also in the G1, so I don't know if they really. I don't even remember what the storyline is if he wins the G1. I feel like no one has to fight him at Wrestle Kingdom or what they do. So Okada's in the tournament, but he's also the champ.
Day off.
Yeah, exactly. Something like that.
They make him buy a ticket.
I think what they say is that he chooses who he fights if he wins. I think that's the way they cover for it.
And again, to reiterate, we're not watching the whole G1. We're watching this one match. I was just looking for background context, so I'm not really lost during the match. However, don't expect to see us sit through 6 hours for a day of wrestling at one time. It's not going to happen. I have severe problems with sitting still for any more than 3 or 4 minutes. So,
hey, I mean, we've done about
Goldberg matches from now on. That's all I can sit through.
You've done pretty well so far for the podcast, then.
Yeah, but I've been drinking beer.
That helps. That definitely helps. So yeah, but there's not much more to go in terms of in terms of the background of this feud. It's not really they didn't have beef with each other from weeks past. This is just Moxley shows up in New Japan. Moxley says he's going to enter the G1 and win it. And this is one of his first matchups in the tournament against like a big, hard-hitting guy like Ishii. So it's just very much a kind of brawler sort of match. But this isn't necessarily your typical New Japan match, but it was a cool flavor that I think Moxley brought to the table that certain guys like Ishii gel really well with. So I don't even think it's the best match from the G1, but I think it's just such an entertaining watch and such a bit of a different vibe that I wanted to show you it.
I'm in 100%, not to derail anything, but when you said the words that Moxley showed up and said he was going to win the G1, all I could think of is The Rock saying, the cameraman just told me he's going to win the Royal Rumble.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Tomohiro Ishii and Jon Moxley. So this is kind of an example of New Japan, Kid Concrete, whatever his name is. I don't care anymore.
Kid who?
Kid Concrete. I don't know. I don't care anymore about his name.
He's not here. He doesn't matter.
Him and I know New Japan a little bit better than you, so this is an example.
The only thing he knows about Japan is Dragon Ball Z. He doesn't know anything. He's never watched wrestling. I'd be surprised if he even knew what kayfabe meant.
We'll have to ask him. We'll have to give him a trivia, and then
Don't ask him anything. Actually, I'm not going to talk to him. He'll have to talk to you.
Okay. Never be on the podcast after all. I was hopeful at the beginning of the episode, but it sounds like you've got too much heat with him now.
I think we should just not do a podcast with him. I think it's easier with two people.
Yeah, you're not wrong. But if he came along, I'd give him a chance. There's too much money in a potential.
What do you mean we gave him a chance? What is he doing?
I'm a promoter here. I'm the promoter here. I'm in the money business. So if I can get both you guys on and we can get a little bit of a feud going, then maybe that's money for me.
It's your time. 1:45 in the morning. What the fuck else is he doing? He could be here. He just doesn't want to be.
At least I can show you some of the New Japan world while he's in here.
I love it. And when he does get on here, I'm going to act like I know more than him now. I'll be like, no, I watched New Japan yesterday. I know more than you.
You've watched it more recently than him.
Every time he says the name, I'm going to say you made up.
It's a bit of a tour, so they do it in different locations. So like this place isn't too big. You get a pretty small venues doing some of these.
Oh, I like it. I like it.
Yeah, so the vibe is really cool.
It's more intimate.
Yeah.
That's not a small crowd by any stretch of the imagination, but
no, it's not.
I prefer it to the sold-out arenas.
Yeah. It's not small, but it's still pretty intimate, and it has a bit of an old school feel with the kind of balconies and stuff. That's what's awesome about watching the old school Raws when they're at the old, not when they're at MSG yet, but for WrestleManias and stuff. But when they're at the old ballrooms and stuff.
Oh yeah, awesome. I mean, though, like the thing is, like they do have upper bowl seating, but it's like right above the front row.
Yeah,
so right there. So what title does this guy have now? I saw him. He came up with a strap.
I think it's the Never Open Weight title. I forget what Never stands for, but it's a new-ish mid-card title in New Japan. And it seems to be held by generally like people like Ishii who are like hard-hitting mid-card guys.
So essentially these guys are just going to kick and punch each other
They're just going to kick each other back. That's what this is, and it's going to be great.
I love it, and it's super weird seeing Moxley completely outsize a dude.
Yeah, for sure. And like,
so where do they get off finding the smallest dude and making him the heavy hitter?
Yeah, he's just I don't know. He's just thick, man. It's just something.
But not really. Like when you look at okay, if you were to stand next to him, right? He looks thick because he's 5'6".
That's true.
But like. Next to Moxley, he doesn't look thick at all. Like Moxley's arms are way thicker than his.
You're right. Like he was more, he was bigger in my memory than he actually is.
Yeah, he's tiny. He's like I'm willing to bet he's shorter than Ray.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
If you put him to the WWE, he's lucky if he makes it to cruiserweight. I'm willing to bet those guys are bigger than him.
Yeah. Oh yeah. WWE, he'd be small.
However, that doesn't take away from his wrestling. He might be fucking awesome.
No, you're right. Is that right? Memory, I'm thickening him up. He's bigger than he's not as big as I remembered, but he's still a very stiff wrestler.
Oh, for sure. Is that the famous referee Red Shoes calling this match?
Yeah, I think so.
I didn't see the shoes. There's a glare on him, but I did see like he was acting a bit of a cartoon character.
Yeah, I think it's probably him for this one. Moxley's character in New Japan is some kind of similar but kind of different.
So. Well, see, I'll get behind Moxley every time. You know why? Because he's crushing it. He's holding a title, and he's got the same hairline as me. I don't know how you don't root for the guy. I mean, he looks like me, and if he can do it, it means that the rest of us might be able to someday.
Yeah, he was on Jericho's podcast a bit after leaving, and he was just saying like, man, like he got a huge offer apparently, and he's like, man, you guys are really gonna make me walk away from all this money. Like he was mad because he felt like he had to turn down the contract because it's like, if you guys are gonna book me in this shitty storylines and shit, then I have to turn down this huge amount of money because you guys are gonna make me do it, is the way he was wording it. Because like, the way he's saying it, it's like by putting him in the storylines he was in WWE, they were basically forcing him to like walk away from that money because he knew he couldn't take that money if it meant he was going to be in shit for years that he didn't have any like, creative input behind.
Yeah, you know what though? I respect the hell out of him for that. I respect anybody who follows like their own morals and what they think, and they're willing to turn down paydays like that. Because I mean, the reality is, even in WWE, I mean, he was kind of like I don't even know how to explain him. I mean, towards the end, he was like a jobber, but only for like the top card guys.
Yeah, no,
he lose a lot, and he was fucking over. He was always over, but like he would lose a lot.
Yeah, especially near the end.
But to see them throw money at him and him be like, you know what, nah, like I gotta go do my thing because you guys aren't doing it right. I respect that so much. I mean, I'm gonna keep watching WWE, but
yeah, for sure. But I think him leaving was for the best. He has a lot of creative juices that I think need to be expelled at this point.
And I mean, the thing is, you can tell like when every match he does, you can tell he puts everything into it. I mean, his acting, his wrestling ability, his athletics. I mean, the fact that he's willing to wear the crimson mask almost every night. His heart is 100% in it. And the reality is where WWE is and what they try to do with their programming and, be more family friendly and things like that. I don't know that Jon Moxley does best there. Like, I think he does better at AEW where he can be the outrageous character he wants to be. And if he wants to bleed, he can fucking bleed. If he wants to hit a dude with a baseball bat, he can hit a dude with a baseball bat. And he doesn't have to worry about a fine coming afterwards.
AEW is clearly giving people freedom with their own characters. They might not be able to write the whole story, but in terms of their own characters, they can express it how they want. Yeah. And that's definitely what he needs.
Now, he's doing great in AEW. I love his promos he's cutting in AEW, man. The one where he's like he's just out in gravel pits and like in sand talking about coming back, and I love it. I'm in. Yeah. He reminds me of like not his character, but he reminds me of Stone Cold Steve Austin in a way where he's like the rebel of the company. He's on top, but like he doesn't really necessarily care about the title that much. He cares about winning. He cares about beating the guy who pissed him off. The title is great, but it doesn't define him. Where you look at like guys like The Rock, Triple H, things like that. I mean, when they got the title, that was what they were going for. But with Moxley and Austin, the title was a side venture. It was just something that happened because they beat the shit out of the dude they wanted to beat the shit out of.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. Because you had, dating back to Jericho, offering Moxley a spot in the inner circle and him smashing him with the champagne bottle. And that leads to him running the title off of him. But he just mostly wanted to beat the shit out of him.
Yeah, and I think, you know what? That's why guys like Moxley and Austin will do well in whatever brand they go in. Because the thing is, you can take the strap to Moxley. It won't matter. He'll still be He'll still be one of the top guys in the company because his next feud will be the only thing people care about watching. Because it won't matter if it's a title or not. Somebody else, he'll lose the strap eventually. It'll happen. And then somebody will piss him off, and then that heat will be more important than the title. Just watching Moxley get his hands on whoever the hell wronged him will be awesome.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Like, I think it worked out well with him being the guy to dethrone Jericho, but he doesn't need the title to stay over. Whatever he'll be involved in will be interesting regardless.
But that was so awesome. I did not think he was going to beat Jericho. When I was watching that, I was like, you know what? I love Moxley, but this isn't how it happened. And then it happened, and I was like, well, that shows what I know.
Yeah. I felt like he was probably one of the few guys who could take the title off Jericho, but I wasn't convinced.
At the time, I knew he could, like wrestling-wise. I know he could. But storyline-wise, I really at the time thought that Cody would find a way to come back.
Yeah.
And it'd be Cody and Jericho again. And, for some reason, I just did not see Moxley winning. I thought Moxley would lose. It would be some bullshit, but then, he would go crazy Moxley and the storyline would change and all of a sudden he'd have his eyes set on somebody else. Maybe somebody interferes in that match, causes him to lose the title, but now he's more focused on getting back at that person who interfered in the title itself because it doesn't matter to him.
Yeah,
But
I figured if
no.
Moxley lost, it wouldn't be clean for sure.
Yeah.
It
No,
would
for
set
sure, yeah.
something up.
No, I thought Sammy Guevara or someone would get involved, and then that would be the next heat. Would be Moxley versus that person, and the
Yeah,
title match. That's what I truly thought. But then he won, and I was like, holy shit, this is better.
yeah,
Now he's the champ and he's the renegade. Like how are you the rebel / renegade of the entire company, but also the face of the company and also the champion? Like that's crazy.
for sure. I love how Moxley gives him the chair. Do you see that?
Yeah. Like we're gonna hit each other with the chairs until one of us gives up. Oh shit, that chair just broke. Yeah, you lose, arsehole.
Oh my god.
That was awesome, dude. That chair just obliterated itself. I would do that. I'm out. Moxley, you win. That's fucked up. And I love that in New Japan they don't have tables, they have benches.
Yeah, the little Japan tables. Quite as easily.
A 3D through a knee-high bench. Oh shit! He hit him with a cutter?
Ooh.
I love it. I mean,
Off the ring.
oh shit. Oh man, they keep teasing us with that table.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, it's over.
Oh, it's there.
You know what? That's better though, because in real life, you set up a table, shit changes, and now the fight's back in the ring. I mean, I like that better.
But then by the time they get back over there, you forget the table's there, and someone's gonna go through it.
I like that all the fans are sitting down, man.
Yeah, dude, the Japanese fans are so respectful. They're like, there's not gonna be chance usually.
It's so much better.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
They'll cheer for good sequences and stuff, but they're not gonna be like, you deserve it.
No, but like they boo. Like the best part is like they'll have like a clean chain wrestling like a chain.
Yeah.
And cheer the chain afterwards, and no big spot happens. You don't need to.
They'll just react to that. Yeah.
But a clean chain happened, and they'll cheer. Or like the heel will get a small move off on the good guy, and the baby face will fall down, and then they'll boo, and it's amazing. It's like you guys are either that into it, or someone paid you at the door to be the perfect crowd. But
yeah. Yeah, you don't see a whole you don't often see tables and stuff in the Japanese matches, especially like the G1.
What kind of matches that didn't disqualify him? Like why is this still going on now? He just put him through a table in the middle.
Basically, like the way they kind of talk about it in Japan is like, I wish they'd kind of do this in WWE sometimes, is like it's the ref's discretion. So if the ref has the authority to, if he doesn't want to disqualify them for that stuff, he doesn't have to.
Yeah, but if he does disqualify one person and then a week later he doesn't disqualify the next person for the same thing, he's playing favorites and being biased, and then all of a sudden you have an issue with the legitimacy of the win.
Although I'd rather at least them like justify it like that rather than just ignore it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I would rather them straight up go, yeah, I didn't feel like, I didn't feel like that was facetious. The guy who set up the table was actually a guy who went through it, so I allowed it.
Yeah,
so, exactly. Fine. Like if you can justify it, I guess I can accept it.
Yeah. Whereas if that happens in a WWE match, it's just kind of like they would not mention it.
Yeah. They would just ignore that it happened and pretend it didn't exist.
Yeah.
But with me, you could make the argument that like if John brings in a chair and then the other guy grabs the chair and hits him with it and there's no DQ and the ref's like, well, I mean, he brought the fucking chair in. It's his own fault that he got hit with it. He brought the weapon. Then I'd be like, yeah, you know what, fair enough.
Yeah, exactly.
But like if he brought the chair in and then hit the dude with it, yeah, it should be a disqualification. He intentionally brought a chair in specifically to hit the dude.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. These guys are just so stiff with each other. I love the back and forth.
I do like it. I mean, like you mentioned at the beginning, it's not a very technical match. I mean, as far as like greatest matches go down, it will not go down as one of the greatest matches. However, entertaining. It is very entertaining. Both of these guys.
Exactly. That's why we're not always going for, all technical or a classic match or necessarily I feel like it's a good example of like something different. We got a hard hitting kind of Japanese style match, and I mean like it isn't even like that a lot of New Japan matches are like this, because it's not, because this is even a bit different for Japan. But just like look, they're just fucking like
Just headbutting each other.
Yeah, just so stiff. But
it's entertaining, and they're selling it like that. That's the thing. So like, yes, they're being stiff. No, it's not that technical. However, I mean, you look in their faces, you believe it.
Yeah, an emotional brawler kind of match.
Yeah. But the thing is, I know like and also it helps. I know John can be technical. He just chooses not to be. Like I've seen him do pretty technical matches. I've never seen him like to the caliber like we'll say Benoit or someone like that. But like, I don't know why I chose him as the the reference point, but you know what I mean. But he has shown to be able to chain wrestle and do well. He just chooses the brawler.
Yeah, you see it. So that's kind of why once you watch someone and can respect them and you know they can do multiple styles, that's when you're like, okay, it's cool that he's brawling here because you know he can change it up when he needs to.
Yeah, like if the dude grabs him, okay, he'll start into grappling, but like he just chooses not to. I do enjoy that, and I do agree. This match is actually quite entertaining.
Yeah.
Even though it's not technical, it's just dudes punching each other in the face.
I feel like Japan's brought in a lot of international guys at this point, so they have really a really good mix of different styles. They have like Ospreay and Zack Sabre Jr., who are like British style chain wrestlers. They still have the Japanese guys who do their very long emotional style matches, but then they got like guys like Moxley and even Jericho, in recent memory, who bring a bit of the American style in, but still gel with the Japanese guys really well.
Yeah, I really I'm enjoying this. So, in your opinion, though, what's the more interesting match to watch? Like a traditional American style match, or would you prefer watching a Japanese style match, like a Japanese with the crowd and the build up and the pacing of the match and everything? What do you like?
It's a good question. I feel like if you have a bit of the storyline background and are sitting down with no cell phone to watch a 50-minute Japan match, I would probably go with that. Like if you know enough of the background and are just like, I'm going to sit down and only watch this and watch like how anime kind of style it is and how like emotional it is, you can have the time of your life watching like an hour-long Wrestle Kingdom kind of Japan match. But I feel like for
a casual viewer, though, the WWE, like the American style might be better for a casual viewer, but for someone who understands.
If you were like pick 3 matches to get someone to like wrestling, I would probably pick all WWE matches just because the pre-match promos are so good and they kind of give you a background, and then just like 2, it's a bit more like
digestible. It's shorter.
Yeah, so a bit shorter. You don't, less of a slow build up, and you get more of the story. I think that's probably it.
That's it, yeah. Dude, he hit him with 2 of those DDTs, and the first one was so fast that I thought he actually planted the dude's head into the match.
The first one was WWE style finisher, like the dirty deeds.
The second one was the paradigm shift, right, where he puts him right up in the air.
Exactly, yeah.
So the dirty deeds is the quick one, and the paradigm shift is the exact same thing, but he lifts him up in the air.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I've never understood the difference between the two. I've been calling his finisher the paradigm shift since he went to AEW, regardless of how he does it. And then when he was in WWE, it was always the dirty deeds, no matter how he did it. Although I don't think I've ever seen him do the lift up in WWE.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen him do the lift up there either. I'm trying to find, like, he always did the quick DDT in WWE, and he had one against Triple H. One of the matches I'm going to put on this podcast 100% is when Triple H was champ and Roman Reigns was going to fight him at WrestleMania. The pay-per-view before that, Ambrose had a title match against Triple H, and it was definitely Ambrose's best match in WWE, or at least way up there.
Ambrose Triple H?
Ambrose Triple H for the title, before Ambrose had even gotten a shot at the title before. So it was like there was a few 2 counts in that like you believed for a sec that Ambrose might win it, and it was going to be Ambrose Reigns at Triple H, or at WrestleMania.
Ambrose Reigns at Triple H.
At Triple H. Yeah, thoughts on
Moxley? Yeah, when you told me we were gonna watch a New Japan match, I gotta say that the stereotypes went in my mind, and I expected a very technical, slow match. Which was, I mean, this match, like you said, the pacing was slower, not bad, but slower. But it wasn't that technical. I mean, it was dudes punching each other in the head, kicking each other in the head, putting them through tables. It was well done. Everything was sold. I mean, every move Moxley hit looked like it fucking hurt. Every move Ichi hit looked like it fucking hurt. At first, I was a little concerned because Ichi was so much smaller. I didn't think him being a hard hitter would be believable against Moxley, who's 6'2", 6'3". He's not a small dude.
Yeah.
But once it started, man, it worked. It worked really well. I thought it was very entertaining. I really liked it. Again, I wouldn't put it up there as one of the most technical matches of all time. However, if you would ask me, like, I'd put it in the list of the most entertaining. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's not necessarily like you don't show this to someone to say like this is New Japan, because it's definitely not the best example of it. But I think with the last G1, I think it's like Moxley was kind of throwing a wrench in New Japan, so I think it's a good example of like New Japan being open to kind of different styles of wrestling now. So I think, yeah, when I was showing you New Japan matches, you probably have a certain style you're expecting, and a lot of the matches will probably be like longer, slower build kind of matches. But with Moxley Ishii, it was just an example of how last year Moxley was just like coming into New Japan out of nowhere, fresh out of WWE, and he's like, I'm going to fuck shit up. And he had this really hard-hitting match with Ishii. It was like very stiff, and it was the first Moxley New Japan match I watched. So I just was like, I don't know, it got me excited for the rest of the G1 tournament, and it got me excited for Moxley outside of WWE. So I feel like it was just one I wanted to show you, because I knew at the very least you would find it very entertaining.
I enjoyed the hell of it. And the funny thing is, when Moxley, when he first left WWE, I was really upset because I liked him as Dean Ambrose. I thought he was funny on the mic. I liked his segments. And then I didn't realize at the time that I was completely ignoring the fact that WWE was walking all over the guy. I mean, he was a great talent, and he had amazing segments. He was always over with the fans, but he was losing match after match, and like the storylines were kind of ridiculous. He was being putting into. I mean, he was being funny in them, and he was doing a great job with them. But the storylines themselves were pretty much shit. So when he first left the WWE, I was actually like pretty upset because I liked watching him. He was one of the wrestlers I liked tuning into, and I thought when he left that I wouldn't really have that much I wanted to watch still. But he went on to New Japan and then to AEW ultimately, where he resides now. And honestly, like I'm loving it. I think he made the right choice. I'm happy seeing him wrestling again. I'm happy seeing him wearing a strap. I think the guy is one of the harder workers out there today.
Sure.
Of the guys we watch, it's not to say guys in the indie scenes are working just as hard, but of the guys we watch, I think Moxley's working really damn hard, and I'm really happy to see what's going on with him. And that match was really, really cool. And, I'm excited to see him put on more matches in AEW, and hopefully we cover some of those here, because I like watching them, and I would really like discussing more with you guys, especially like if we get to see one of the more technical matches with him, so we can kind of contrast and compare to this match, which wasn't that technical, but still very entertaining. Now, maybe next time we watch a more technical match with Jon Moxley and see if it's just as entertaining or not.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a wide array of matches that we can kind of take you through with him. And I agree with everything you said. Like, it was weird at first knowing he was going to leave WWE, and then seeing AEW start, and the fact that he not only showed up there but in Japan too. It's like, okay, this guy didn't just leave because he didn't feel like working anymore. This guy left because he wanted his own creative input into things, and he wanted to be able to do what he wants. So it's like, it's awesome to see him. He's holding the US title for New Japan, and he's holding the main title for AEW. So just, yeah, seeing the work he's putting in and seeing his ability to adapt, I'm excited to kind of look through some of his other matches too. And we saw a hard-hitting one now. Maybe we can see a more technical one. Maybe we can see a more spot-filled one, because there's a lot of matches from when I didn't watch. Like there's a match really well regarded between the Shield and the Wyatt family, a 3-on-3 match, and I haven't seen it, and it's known as one of the better tag matches ever. I'd like to see that. We've seen a lot of his stuff in AEW already, but you know, there's other New Japan matches he's had that I want to show you. So I don't know, the sky's the limit. There's still a lot on our plate that we want to watch, and it's overwhelming sometimes. But that's why we started this podcast, this show, to be able to slowly work our way through our long list of matches that we want to watch.
Guys, the limit, space is the place, and we'll be watching every single time. Yeah, do the thing.
That was perfect. I think we will end episode 0 there. So we will see you guys next time. Maybe Kid Concrete or whatever his name is shows up next time.
You know what? Baby Asphalt needs to show up, because I need someone to disagree with me, because we've been agreeing for like 3 hours, and I need somebody to once look at the camera and be like, no. And then I'll tell him the fucking idiot, and then he's not allowed on anymore, and then we'll just move on.
We need some heat. That's where the money is. We're signing off for now. This is the List Podcast, and we will see you next time.
See you guys.